All right. And then the next item is cloud computing. So that's an integral part of it. That's a really major topic. We're going to talk a lot about it. Some forms of cloud computing also, and definitely these concepts will help you together and moving forward in Salesforce and in other IT aspects as well. And at the very end, we'll talk about the training goals and how we're going to do this session. And any questions that you have, we'll take it from there. All right. So very quickly, Mo, just want to give a quick recap again for what you have done in the past. And okay, okay, perfect. And we have Zafar. Zafar, do you want to give a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah, I'm in Houston, Texas. My background is working in real estate and asset management.
Okay,
I have done my MBA, and I'm trying to explore some opportunities in Salesforce area. This is, I understand, there are a lot of opportunities for Salesforce consultants these days. So that's what brings me here.
absolutely. I also have Razi. I don't know if you can hear me and if you can speak it out. Um, if you can hear me, can you respond, Razi? Okay, not sure. We also have Raza. Raza, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm very thankful to Khurram your precious time, and definitely, we spoke a couple of times for this Salesforce. My background, as you guys know, especially Khurram knows, I'm from RF engineering. So I work with from different industries, from Alcatel Lucents and RF design, performance, and optimization. That's my background.
Perfect. Hey, Amber, are you there? Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, yeah. My name is Amber, and I'm from Kansas. I'm studying in Wichita State University, and my majors is business analytics and information management. This is quite an interesting topic, and I really wanted to know a lot about this one. I have already worked in a banking sector, whereas a core banking system was somehow related to this one. So I just need to know the difference between these two systems. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. And we'll wait if Razi comes back, if he can able to let us know. Hey, Sana, you want to introduce yourself? Yes, my name is go into Salesforce and try to do as a All right. Okay, thanks a lot. And I would also like to give a quick introduction of myself. So my name is Khurram Ali. I've been in IT and telecom for about 12 plus years. I work in multiple domains. I work as a project manager. I work in IT. I work as a program manager. I also did a lot of technical stuff. I do a lot of trainings in the past. I have about 5 plus years of very specific goal-oriented training experience which I've provided to most of the tier one customers like AT&T, Verizon, Sprint. In Canada, also I have Bell, Telus. In US, we have some vendors, Nokia, Samsung. So I have a vast experience of providing full day trainings for specific topics, and also I have a lot of tool trainings that I have been providing to different levels, from engineering level to developer level, and also going all the way up to the management level training. So I have I'm really want to go to the next level, and this tool I've been using it for some time. So basically, I put up a course together, and I feel like there's a lot of need of training, and there's a lot of information which is not out there, especially in our community, about the lot of IT aspects of it. And so I'm trying to see if I can close the gap between that and see if I can help people to get into IT, especially as a first step. And obviously, once you are in, you can able to explore a lot of options. So what I hear, first question about any of the IT trainings is, does it involve software development? Does it involve coding? Does it involve how hard is that? So obviously that's one of the concern, because I imagine basically some of us who belongs to a particular type of curriculum, we do not have a lot of strong background in programming. So that kind of step us back from the mainstream jobs and most paying jobs in US and around the world. So obviously, if we don't have that expertise, that doesn't mean we cannot never have it. Definitely, there's always a good time to have it, and there is nothing that you cannot achieve. You just need a little bit dedication. You just need a little bit hard work, and definitely you can get something. And we'll talk about the perspective in next couple of slides. So just a quick introduction about myself and an agenda. So let's move on. And if you have any question, feel free to stop me and we can answer. It's a very open forum today. We're just trying to introduce Salesforce among you so you can feel about it. You can get an idea what it is. And then obviously once we start the training from next week, we can actually go into more detail what, how does it work and all that. I do have one more person join the session from the name of SQ. Can you introduce yourself? I have somebody joined by the name SQ. Would you like to introduce yourself? We still won't able to hear you. Okay, that's fine. We'll continue, and if you can maybe write some comments in the tag so that I know at least you can able to hear me nice and clear. All right. So let's start. So hopefully you guys can able to. Okay, Sofyan. Hey, Sofyan, can you able to hear me? You can type it in case if you won't able to speak up. Can you able to hear me nice and clear? Okay, perfect. All right, so let's continue. So the slide that you are looking at it right now, it says Salesforce market share. So this is I just want to show you the top 10 CRMs, top 5 CRMs which are in the industries which has been currently being utilized, and Salesforce covers 44.5, almost 45% of that. Some of the other ones, obviously, it's good to know what is out there apart from Salesforce is Microsoft Dynamics CRM that is also getting some traction these days. We have Oracle CRM, we have Act, we have SAP, and obviously there are a lot other more, but these are some of the top 5 which has the major portion of the CRM market. Obviously, Salesforce is pretty much on the top from the time it comes up because it comes up with a new concept of cloud computing. Before that, there were some other CRMs like Siebel and all. They were client based. So we'll talk more about it. What does it mean by client based or cloud based, and what is cloud meaning, and why Salesforce is good to have, why it is leading CRM, all these good stuff we'll talk about in coming slides. In terms of companies, again, this is just a small number, but if you can see the number of growth which I'm going to show you, it's keep progressing on a daily basis. So 200,000 plus companies which are tier one companies, they're already using Salesforce. They already have implemented and they're using it on a daily basis. A lot of companies are moving to acquire Salesforce and implementing it, and also they are basically expanding them. So for example, they started off, they try to see how does it feel and look. They bought few licenses, they used to it, they integrate their system, and once they get good at it, they start expanding and they expand into their different divisions, different sessions, different proportions of their company, so that the whole company can work on a single CRM. All right, so the next slide, we move to the slide number 3. Just give you a few seconds so that will refresh on your screens as well. But in general, the next slide talks about the customer. I just put some very top-notch customers here just to give you an idea what kind of customers you can shoot for, which you can prospective customers, prospective employees, or for those companies. So Hulu, you have Nike, you have Coach, Coca-Cola, you have Intuit, you have Microsoft itself used to use Salesforce a lot, Fidelity, you have a lot of banks, Sony. So there are a huge number of lists. I just pick up some of those which are probably using from the very start. AT&T, in terms of internet, web browsers, AngelList, Career Builder. In terms of media, you have Live Nation, you have Universal, you have Activision. In terms of hospitality, you have hotels, Priceline, and so on and so forth. So basically, The next slide will actually illustrate. I just put together some of the again major fields, encompass the whole field where it can be used, but just to give you a slightest idea there where it can be used. So hospitals, telecommunication, financial institute of any sort. So we talk about banks, we talk about small accounting firms, we talk about anything related to financial work can be used in sports because there are a lot of teams, they are doing a lot of fundraising, they have a lot of staff. So you can imagine how can it be used in a sports? But you think about like NFL. Think about you have a school team. How many employees they have? How many students they have? How many staff they actually maintain? Because these days are big deal. So they have a lot of staff. They need to communicate between each other. We have media, unlimited using pharmaceutical, IT department, of course, banking, call centers just to see the use of call center. They just last year come back with a specific call center module. And hopefully once we get in the training, we will talk about that. So they just very specific to call center because a huge use, because they want to capture each call. They want to capture when they called, how long it called. They want to do analytics on top of it. And we'll talk about what does analytics mean is basically just in a very common language. What it means is they want to see in a day how many call comes up, what they talk about it, how they talk about it. Now how do you going to do that? Can you go ahead and listen thousands and thousands of calls? You cannot. It's not even humanly possible. So that's where the all these things comes up, which is in terms of analytics. They convert that into database form. From the database form you pull queries, and it's a huge data. So that's where all these new tools comes up, where you can go in there, tap the information out from there, and you can put in. So let's say you have like a month of calls, and maybe 100,000 calls happen to AT&T call customer. Now you say, okay, I want to see anybody who use swear word. I want to see how many unhappy customers are there. So you're gonna pull a query. You're just gonna say, okay, use this word and see how many times how many calls it comes up. So boom, it will go in the database and comes up and say, okay, out of 10,000, 200 people or 2,000 people use this word. And so you say, okay, I want to know, okay, when do they use it, what days they use it. So I mean, you can chop it up as much as you want, but just to give you a slightest idea, just a slice of it, that how strong can it be, how much control you have for the data that we never had in the past. That's why all these Hadoop, which is another tool for crunching big data, a lot of other software which are coming up where you can use cloud, and also you can use the big data analytics. You can use and grab the data because this is the future. There is no doubt this is the future. So we'll talk about more in detail. All right. So the next slide, hopefully I'm going to give like a second or two so the slide can be. All right. So the next in terms of job and how much they are creating. So the way you can read this slide is if you see the second slide where it says cloud related jobs in 2015, 1.09 to 100. So the 2015 where in the graph says zero, that doesn't mean zero. That means 1,992,000 jobs. That's where it is starting. It is just showing the progression of how it is going. So in the next 10 years, it's going to almost double. So another million jobs will be created just in Salesforce itself. So if you see every year, it's about 200,000 or 150,000 jobs are being created in Salesforce just standalone by Salesforce, and we'll see how it basically affects the overall economy of the world. But just in numbers, you can imagine that every year onwards, at least 200,000 or 150,000 jobs are being generated every year, starting from 2015. Just a graph. Obviously, the graphs goes back maybe two decades when the CRM first started. All right. Give a second so that the slide should refresh from everybody. The next slide I have here is just to give you an idea that how the salary range basically work. So I just pull up a very random number from one of the websites from where you can search for your jobs. Indeed, obviously there are so many other places that you can look for: Monster, Dice, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. I just pull it up from one of those resources. So it's just updated 2 days back, and you can see every salary is about 90K for a Salesforce administrator. This is purely administrator. We'll talk about there are multiple flavors, but just at an administrator, which is almost, you can imagine, some basic stepping stone. a very top notch in a Salesforce certification category, but just as a Salesforce administrator, you can see you can have 90, which is average, and it can start anywhere from 40K. It goes all the way up to 172. So in some cases, what happen if we talk about Salesforce architects who have more than 5 or 6 years of experience and they're architect, they can easily, their average salary is about 170 up to 200K per year, and that's very common. If you want to check, you can go ahead and check in LinkedIn and all those for salaries for Salesforce architect. And again, this is stepping stone. You can with the time you can move up obviously, and once you have enough experience, you have enough certifications, you can definitely aim for that goal. And like again, I got a lot of questions asked by students and who are interested that, okay, what is the future? Okay, like let's say if I invest that much money, time, energy, would it not gonna happen that, okay, next 2 years or 3 years later on, then everything just drops down, and again I need to find something else. So the way that things are working is obviously they are getting more and more automated. Now, if you say, okay, I have done Salesforce administration, I clear it, I get a job, and then I don't need to study anymore, I don't need to do any more certifications, that's not true. The things are changing with the speed of light. Obviously, you need to catch it up. But once you have certification, you go into the job, it's part of the job that you can evolve yourself. So every year, 3 times they have some revisions comes up, which will tell you, okay, these are the new features. So all you need to do is basically just look into those features, try it out, understand them, and basically try to implement it for your company. And that's how you can able to progress with the time. Again, once you get more comfortable, there are some other paths that you can join. And I'll show you there are a lot of other things that you can also do once you get into there, which can make your chances even better, more stability, more salary, things like that will come up as part of it. But again, the way Salesforce has positioned itself, they have multiple domains. So you can choose either to be a developer, you can choose to be administrator, you can choose to be architect. And if you have more than one area expertise, obviously you become more in demand. You can demand more salaries, you can have more people looking for you. You can come up in searches more often. Any questions so far from what we have gone through?
One question. So,
Sure.
according to you say, it's not necessary because I don't know other people, but my background is not programming,
Sure.
So I just so in the Salesforce, the person can survive without programming skills.
All right. So that's a good question, Raza. So as I said in the very beginning, and also in my notes somewhere, that for admin you don't really need any programming. So the Salesforce admin, it's basically it's administration of the Salesforce software. What you do is basically you manage the contents, you manage the users, you manage how the reports and dashboards are working, and all of those are basically preset. You just need to know where to go, how, what to click, and basically some basic functionalities that you need to achieve those. So some workflows. So you don't really need programming as an admin. But in some cases, if you want to, as I said, if you want to progress, go harder, you can have slightly, you can get into it. Now the programming, just to give you a little hint of it. So in Salesforce, the programming, they have a particular language called Apex language. It's not like a C or something. So there are multiple types of languages. So language is also based upon what language you are trying to learn. So some of the language like C, C sharp, these are the basic languages where you can, they're more complicated, they're tough. But some of the languages which are basically like a apex, this is like a subclass language. So all you need to do is just need to learn the basic concepts or a blocks of it, and then you can move forward. But in terms of coming back to the point, for admin, passing the exam, getting the job, probably you don't need any kind of coding at all. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right. Some more detailed one for the region of the people who are in the DMV area. And of course, we have some people from Texas and any other regions. They can also check it out when they have time. So just in DC, Virginia, and Maryland, I just yesterday I just searched basically some of the jobs that are open. So together there are like about 6,000 jobs which are just open on this one platform. So you can see about 3,000 source jobs in DC. There are about 2,000 jobs in Virginia. There are about 1,000 plus jobs in Maryland. And this is just one website. There are a lot of jobs. They are very strict to post it only on Monster, only on Indeed, only on LinkedIn. So you can imagine you can multiply and collect all these jobs from different portals. And probably you can end up having 10,000 or more jobs currently open in this DMV area, and you can multiply it with the nationwide. If you are living in New York, Massachusetts, Texas, all of these areas, a huge impact, because as we talked about a couple of slides back, every industry need sales CRM. We'll talk about what is CRM, which is Salesforce, but every industry, any company which is starting from 10 people up to thousands and thousands of people need a CRM. We'll talk about in more detail what is CRM, but just to give you a little perspective about future, what you're getting into yourself, so that you can feel good about it. So obviously there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of companies that you can go in. For example, I have few folks who are from telecommunication, right? So for telecom, obviously you have limited area. Somebody who is a pharmacist, he can only or she can only look into pharmaceutical arena, right? If somebody is in hospitality, like a manager or something, he can only look into that region. Now Salesforce, or on a broader way IT, the charm of IT is it is being used in everywhere. If you have a 10 people company, they also have IT staff. If you are talking about 100,000 people company, they have a full department of IT company. So the beauty of that is, if you are in a particular region, you most probably you don't need to move just because of the job. You can actually able to find a job in that region, because you can hit banking, you can go to pharmaceuticals, you can go to financial institution, you can go to telecom sector, whatever we talk about. And obviously if you have a particular background and now you know Salesforce, you become more attracted to the customer, because you not only know, for example, you're in telecom or pharmaceutical or a particular banking sector, and now you know Salesforce also. So you have all the background, and now you know the tool also, so you can become even better person. And for that person, we use a term called business analyst. So I know there are a lot of terminologies going on for business analyst, but if you know a background of what it is, and also you know Salesforce and all those concepts, you can become a business analyst also in that particular domain. You can also be business analyst slash admin. So a lot of jobs requirement, when you go in there, when you get an idea what it is, you will find yourself in clicking a lot of jobs which says business analyst on the top, but and there is somewhere says Salesforce. But once you go in detail, you will be able to find that you can fulfill most of the requirements. All right. So the next slide is basically just to show you the overall impact of Salesforce in terms of economy and the world economy. So 272 billion. What does this number say? So this number is saying basically next few years, this is how much the overall companies who are utilizing Salesforce, they are generating to the world GDP. 272 million, and from today to next few years, it will we already see that it can create more than 1 million jobs. So this is kind of a forecast for next 2 to 3 years, that in the next few years, that's what we are looking into. And obviously if you say the region where we are in United States, the companies who are utilizing, they are somewhere in the vicinity of 152 billion. They're generating that kind of money, 210,000 jobs. And then probably number two is Japan. Then you can see UK, France, Germany, and then there you have Canada. You have and these are obviously just the those companies which are on a really top. If you go in detail, every country, how big or small it is, they are using some sort of CR. Not necessarily Salesforce, not necessarily Oracle, SAP, or anything, but some sort of CRM. Obviously, once they know about it, and these CRMs are not that expensive. They go by licensing, and they go by per month. They go by how much you want to use it. So on a very basic level, any company can afford that. They're not that expensive. There's no upfront cost. So people are gradually. The only thing is that they don't know about it. They don't know what is Salesforce, how it's going to help me. Why should I spend extra money on that? Once they realize how strong it is, how it's going to do the bonding between their company, then they obviously start getting more interested, learn about it, see how it can be done, and then we'll talk about in more detail that this is something where you can use as a center magnet. All the other data sources will get into that, and we'll talk about what does all that mean, what does the integration means, and all that. But definitely, this is the kind of a impact on the overall world economy using CRMs and especially the Salesforce CRM. So we just completed kind of the first section regarding the jobs and positions. So I'll just open up the floor to see if we have any more questions. Ali, do you have any question? You good? All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next set of slides. And this is again, this is a point where I want to explain a little bit more about CRM and business processes. So I just happen to have two folks here, so let me ask them to see what they think. So just in your understanding, what do you think is a business process? What does it really mean for any company, for any even whatever industry that you are in? What does it really mean to say a business process? Or how does the business work? What are the different departments which are interlinked? Just on a very high level, what do you think, in your opinion? How do you define a business or a company? How does that normally work? Mhm. Organize, okay. Okay, and so just to give you an idea from where I am coming from. So what I'm coming from is I want to know what are the different departments or what are the different phases in a business. How do you define a business? What is the first step you need? What is the second step in any business? Just in general, what do you think is the usually the first step? Probably you need to get a customer, right? For whatever business you are. You are doing car selling, you need a customer, right? You need to approach them, you need to call them, email them. Maybe they're visiting, then you need to engage, you tell them the price. Let's say you are a manufacturer, you manufacture something, you need to get customers. How do you approach customers? It's a different ways. You can either call them, you can email them, they might show up to you. You know somebody is building something and they might use our product. You can reach them, you can do cold calls. That's the first step of any business, right? So let's move to the next slide. So that's what it is. So this is called, first step is pre-sales. Yeah, go ahead. Is there any question? Okay. So the first step is basically the pre-sales item. So what it means is basically how do you what you do before the sale actually happens. What is the phase pre-sales mean? Pre-sales means that what kind of efforts you are doing in order to sell something. So what you can do in pre-sales, you can do request, selection, offer fine-tuning, soft offer. These are, we don't want to go into detail, but just concentrate on the top black line. What is the pre-sales? So pre-sales is any effort that you make in order to get a business for your company. That's all. That's what it means. And it can be multiple modes. You can, as I said, you can have different ways of doing that, but that's called a pre-sales phase. Every industry is a different way, different procedure, different timing, but in general it's called a pre-sales phase. Then you have a contract. What does contract mean? Obviously, once you somebody agrees to that okay, I want to buy your product, I want to take your services, whatnot, you go into a contract. You say, okay, we're going to do the contract. So in that case, you have kind of a soft agreements between the client and the customer that okay, I'm very interested, I'm going to buy it. So you're going to send him the PO. He's going to look it up. Maybe you do some negotiations back and forth, and then finally you agree, you do the contract, and you say, okay, we are in. So that's almost like a phase because that requires a lot of approvals, requests, back and forth, maybe negotiations. What are you offering? You want to do some demos, you want to go and show your product, you want to do like a trial run, whatnot. It all comes into your contract. Then goes delivery. Everything goes good. You got the PO. You have the product either ready or you make it ready, you do the work and you basically delivered it. You either delivered it and installed it, the same thing. And then once you deliver everything, is that everything over? No. So then comes the part which is called post sales. What is post sales? Is basically you provide some warranties, right? So you do any kind of work, you deliver a car, you buy a Honda car, and basically they say, okay, 3 years warranty, 2 years warranty, 60,000 warranty. Or you buy a product, it will say, okay, for 1 year, anything goes wrong, come back to us. You build something and say, okay, if there is any problem, any leakage or something, you have a warranty of 1 year. And also in after sales, okay, you sell a car, you sell something. Is that all for that customer? No. Maybe down the road he might need the service again, product again. So what do? You keep working with them so that somehow you can get engaged with them. So next time when they require the same services, they come to you first. So you see, like for example, you go to any car showroom, you buy a car, they want to make sure they hook you up somehow. So they will say, okay, we'll give you free oil change for 3 years, or if you do an oil change from us, we'll give it like really, really cheap, or we provide some free services. Why? So that they can engage with you, they come to you, and then whenever you need a new car or new product or new service, you can get it. So that's what it's called, the after sales. So after sales support, these are all the same ideas, but you need to provide support, you need to reach out to your customer. So this is very strong. This is almost same as the first stage, which is pre-sales, and if you combine those, they become a full cycle. So I have another nice presentation on that, just which will show you the process. How does it come back? Now, next item, I'll explain a little bit more CRM, and then I'll show you some CRM numbers, figures also. So now what is CRM? So what CRM is, we talk about all these 4 different ideas that we talked about: pre-sale, post-sale, delivery, support, and then goes back to the same cycle again. So how do you coordinate? In most of the companies, if you go out, these are different departments. It's almost impossible that if we talk about a really, really small level, maybe it's possible, but usually on industrial level, it's not possible that same person is doing all these 3 or 4 different jobs. So you usually have a sales department who do sales. You have a delivery or technical department who actually delivers the product or who manufactures the product. Then you have a support department who will support your after delivery. If they have any warranties, they come back to the support department, or if they have any problems, they come back to the support department. So you have a support department. So all these 3, and then you have again in the sales department, if they want to reach out to the customer, how would they gonna do that? So there's another thing I'm just introducing right now. It's called marketing. So again, marketing is a very key thing, because without marketing, how do you approach it? If you don't have, maybe you have like a limited number of resources that you can take and reach out to them. After that, what are you gonna do? So you need to come up with a marketing plan. Maybe you can send a flyers out, you can put an ad on a TV, you can have a billboard, or whatever resources you have, but you have to have continuous marketing strategies so that you can market your product and people know about it. And then they go into your next step from the sales. So interconnecting all these things together in one chain is called CR. That's what it is. Customer relationship management. So how do you manage your customer? How do you link all the communications that you have from the very start, from the time when you have a product, you said, okay, we're going to launch it in the market. That's the point where you start, and the point where you support and contact the person. All that communication, if you want to close that, put in a box, that is called CR. That's a customer relationship management. And as the name says, relationship, you need to have a really good relationship with your customer. And how would you do that? Some of the key items that are listed down at the bottom is analytics, automation, improve customer service, response to customer need, time saving, improve customer knowledge. So what are those? So let's say if you let's imagine for a second you don't have any CRM software. So how do you do that? You probably have an Excel sheet, right? Maybe sitting with the sales guy. He'll say, okay, these are my 10 prospect customers. He called them, he put their number, whatnot. He say, okay, he's very hot, I'm gonna do that. You have your separate guy. You have a B person who is your manufacturing guy. So he's manufacturing something new, what is not ready, and he put his notes in another Excel sheet. You have another support guy who keep getting calls from different customers that, oh, your this thing is not working, that is not working, or this is good, maybe I need this, maybe I need that. So 3 different departments. And then let's say you have a marketing department separate. Sometimes you usually fall under sales, but let's say if you're separate or same, they are doing also planning how to do the products. Now, all of them are different domain. So traditionally, if you don't want to use CRM, what you're going to do, maybe they just send out the report every night, right? At the end of the day, you send out to everybody report, and then that's a sales guy pull the Excel report, and then he do his VLOOKUP whatnot to see, okay, what are they doing, and they need to spend a lot of time. Now imagine if you're talking about customer who has thousands of these kind of customers on daily basis, they have a communication daily basis. How do you really gonna use them? It's very very hard. So you cannot really get a loop around it. You cannot basically structure it in a nice professional way that you can utilize that information. So that most of the time somebody asks something, you did not able to get to the sales guy in the right time. By the time he goes somewhere else and buy, sales guy is reaching to somebody, but that customer is already unhappy because there are a lot of issues. You go to the customer saying, hey, I have a new product. It's like, you guys never responded to my issues. I have like 10 tickets already open, nobody's responding me, nobody's fixing it, and you are saying you want to buy a new product. He's not going to buy any product from you, right? So that's where the gap comes up. And if you do all these things manually, it's gonna offset your work. So that's how you basically chain everything. And in the next slide, it will show you that. So what do you really manage? You manage phone calls, you manage emails, you manage meetings and social media, and they're related to main three aspects of it: sales, supports, market. So you combine everything, and in the next cycle, if you see CRM capabilities in a blue and gray, so you can start with the marketing. So you market something, you go into the sales cycle, you sell something, you do calls based upon marketing. A lot of people reaches to you directly. Some people you reach them, and then you basically do the orders, you send the POs, you sell the product, and then you provide the support, and then cycle keeps on. That's how you combine everything together, built into the CRM, and then that's how you basically manage all the communication between your customers. Does it make sense to you guys on the call? Any questions? Any comments from the guys on the bridge?
Yes, Khurram, the CRM management is talking for the prospectors. Uh, the way you are explaining for about the journal view for about the CRM and Salesforce. So, what is the how we gonna be implement in our exam point of view or certification point of view, or how we going to be regarding job point of view.
Okay, so there are different perspective, right? So obviously, the detailed training will cover all of these aspects. How do you basically work into to passing the exam? That's probably your number one priority. How to pass the exam, and obviously on the way you also need to learn how do you really work on the software. So once you know how to work on the software and then how to pass the exam, so that will enable you not only to pass the exam but also get a job and work on a job. So that
And said,
definitely
sorry,
comes up. Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
one thing, I know, like for example, so in this Salesforce, you entering in this field, you have to pass the exam, or just if you have the knowledge, or for example, like people have CCNA knowledge, right? Or some has certification. But what I found it, both peoples are working, in same field, doesn't matter people are carrying the certification or not, but if they have a CCNA knowledge, they are working same as same like what the person who has a certification.
Sure.
So just I'm trying to understanding. So is in this Salesforce without certification you are not able to get the job, or just if you have the of the customer relations CRM knowledge or about the Salesforce knowledge, or you can try this thing. So can you please highlight it on this?
Sure.
Thanks.
So obviously, as you probably in different professions, obviously you need to have some sort of educational background to prove it. So, for example, if you are a telecommunication engineer or if you're pharmaceutical, you need to have some sort of degree, especially for the first job. So when you say that somebody knows how to do it, so what I mean is you are not talking about just the journal information, how the CRM works, how that works. We are talking about very explicitly how to use a tool. So let's say I would say that, okay, you don't pass a certification, that's one thing, but can you able to go into the software and you can do the job that is required on a day-to-day basis? So for example, they will ask you, okay, we have new people getting in, can you set it up? Can you do this and that? So if there is another way that you can do it without certification, maybe you can get lucky, you can do it, but in practical, all practical reasons, once you try to get your first job, they need some sort of assurance that how would you know it? So let's say, for example, I come to you and you are hiring a Salesforce admin, right? And I come to you and I would say, hey, Raza, I know a lot of CRM, I know Salesforce, but I don't have any educational background, I don't have any certification, but can you please hire me? How would you feel about it? You will say, yeah, sure, just come in and use it on my system, and if if you break something, that's fine. What we are talking about is a make or break. The CRM person, the Salesforce admin, is the backbone of any company. Now imagine you are dealing a company, you are working for a Bank of America as a Salesforce admin, where you have millions of dollars of transaction on a daily basis. You need to create a case where anything, let's say what happens is, just to give you example, what you do in Salesforce or any other, you have different accounts. You have account called AT&T, right? You have account called Sprint. A lot of time what happen, you can have some for some reason, because there are so many thousands of support engineers, they might accidentally create a new account. So you have AT&T, somebody else created AT&T new, somebody else created AT&T B, some created AT&T A, right? For example, you created multiple accounts, and your task as an administrator to merge all those accounts, because they all belong to the same company. Somehow you need to merge all those. Now, let's say you don't really work in the industry, you don't have experience, and you do something which is and basically if you basically if you basically merge those together without having the professional understanding, you basically able to mix everything together. So let's say the AT&T A and AT&T is actually a separate entity, but because they look same, they have same address, you merge them. Now everything related to them, all the records, all the thousands of records, calls, everything will merge together, and there is no way you can take it back, right? So some few things are obviously they are very sensitive if you do it, and if you don't know the knowledge, if you don't have any practical experience or certification, then it's very hard to get into there to do your work professionally. So obviously, if somebody is in the industry, maybe you become Salesforce admin, for example, right? And then on a side you start learning Apex language, okay, and down the road 1 year later you become a Salesforce developer also. Maybe at that point you might not need that Salesforce developer certification, because you are already in the environment. Now if I go back to you and say, hey, Raza, I am a Salesforce admin, I've been working for Bank of America for 2 years, I also happen to learn the development, I have done this in my job, would you hire me? Probably yes. He will see, okay, this person has done X number of projects, he have all the information, he have certification, he is doing that in the fields, obviously your chances become good. So as a starting point, I would highly recommend that you probably need some sort of training certification to show, so that the customer or employer can trust on you, say, yeah, you can do this. And as I said, it's not something which is not reactive, it's very reactive, and it's a backbone. If you do something wrong, you screw something, that can cost company thousands and sometimes millions and billions of dollars, because you have access to each inventory, each transaction, each person context, all the contacts that company have from A to Z, and this are very sensitive data. So usually if you become a Salesforce admin or developer, or at some level an architect, that's a very prestigious job, because you are basically working directly with the CEOs, directors, managers, and sometimes engineers to train them. And it's a very interactive and very sensitive job that you need to be very sure about, because in networking, maybe if you do not connect a cable correctly, you can just maybe lose one system. But let's say if you're working on a system and you're connecting UK with US, and you mismatch one of the cables, yeah, guess what? They cannot gonna hire somebody who just have experience. They might get somebody who's like a maybe 10, 15 years of super experience in doing the same job. So hopefully that might have answered your question. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. All right. So here comes a very, very critical topic, and this is probably one of the very topic that I want to discuss in more detail. So when we keep saying cloud, 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 cloud from day one, and oh, Salesforce is a very cloud based and all. So I want to know what is really a cloud based system. What do you mean by a cloud based system? So Raza, do you want to chip in a little bit? What do you really understand by when you say a system is on a cloud, or you are doing working on a cloud or a cloud computing? What does it really mean?
You know that from telecom industry, all the works are going remotely, going to
Okay.
server base, and operating from same thing. Like for example, if any integrations, only the hardware for installing in the field, and the rest of are remotely working. Same thing we saw that in Alcatel and all the engineers are sitting all over the nationwide or some international, and they're dealing. We have to be database, loading all the data, and then I think this is the cloud base, right? But in the cloud base, what my understanding is, deal with the thousands of millions of giga or terabyte data or something like that. Way.
Okay, good idea. Hey, Zafar, are you still there? I just want to check if you are still with us. Hey, Zafar.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. So Zafar, you want to chip in a little bit? What do you think about what do you have an idea? What is cloud? What does it mean?
Well, cloud software is something where you don't have to install any software on your client, like your computer or anything. Everything is based on it's web-based portal, so everything is done on cloud, and you can access the application from anywhere and everywhere.
Okay,
Basically,
so that's
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 what the
that's probably very very close answer. But when you say, so where is the data? So from the user perspective, that's a perfect answer. That for user you don't need to install anything, you don't need to do anything. But where is the data going? Where is it saving, and how is the computing is happening basically?
well, data is saved in Salesforce data centers that they have multiple data centers all across US, and that's where it's a multi-tenant portal system where multiple companies share the same servers to store their database, and they have their security system, so nothing is mixed with the data is not company's information is not mixed with one another.
Perfect. So yeah. So just to recap, probably it's the right answer, anyways. But what it is basically, just to give you a little background, is what happens is back in the days, probably like like decade and a half back, what used to happen, and probably some of you might remember those days, where a company want to do a company setting up, right? They want to set up their Outlook, they want to have some processing, they want to do install some software. So what traditionally they used to do, they used to have a server room, and what they do is basically they buy a server, they buy they buy all the equipment, they buy routers, they buy one other thing which is very important, server, and then you also buy storage medium. So that could be your hard drives, whatnot, based on how much you're going to use it. And you actually have a dedicated server room, and you most probably hire a person who will gonna manage it, a IT person who gonna manage it, who gonna do all your patches, this and that, and basically do updates on the utilities which are used by across the board. For example, Outlook, right? So you have Outlook 2007 is being using, somewhere has to be installed, and then you can basically distribute it. Or you have a capacity, you want to use a particular software, but yes, but somebody has to log in, and you basically dedicate a machine for that. It's a very high speed machine where it can be used, and you give a login to everybody and let them know, okay, whenever you are using, you need to make sure that nobody else is using. So somebody got the credential, they log in, they use it, they get out, next person get in. But everything is basically company based. So that used to happen. Now the same thing was happening with Amazon a long time back, and basically they have a lot of these data center using, but they were kept empty after a certain usage. That they have a busy season, they have using it, and then most of the year they are not being utilized that much. So they come up with the idea and they start leasing and providing that services with the on-demand basis to their customer. So they will say, hey, you have a company, you want to use the servers, why won't you use our servers to log into our servers and pay as much as you use, as many hours as you use, or as many days as you use? You want to save data, don't worry about installing everything on your, just save everything on our server. We have backup servers, we have this new technology, everything will be saved, we always back up, we always do this and that, provide you a lot of security and top of the line security. And they'll say, you want to save something, instead of saving on your own server, you can save on our servers and pay as much as you want. So let's say you want 100 gig, pay just for 100 gig. Next day you need just 50 gigs, rest of the day you don't need it, just drop it down. So they come up with the on demand utilization and storage medium, and that becomes popular, and ultimately that is what cloud computing is. And probably Zafar already explained it in a very good way, that that's what cloud is, that somewhere else is your data is being processed, most of the time is the data is saved, and then all you do it, you go through a web browser, you log into a application which can do a lot of crunching, probably need a very high speed processing, but everything is done in the background at the servers. Either they own by a particular company, which could be in this case Salesforce or Amazon or HP or whoever that cloud belongs to. And then again, obviously it is a server based, so you can log in from any part of the world, as long as you have the login credentials. You can use any machine for logging into that. So that's the idea of the cloud. Now, how does it implement in Salesforce? Before Salesforce started almost 1999. Before Salesforce, Siebel is usually used to work on a client-server based model, which I explained a little bit earlier, that you have to install, you have to do some upfront work, and obviously that becomes more expensive. So let's say I have a company of 100 people, I want to install Siebel, I might have to pay upfront cost of the hardware, this and that, maintenance, and for example, I might have more utility one day, next 6 months I don't have that much utility, but I have to still spend that much money. So all that good stuff come into the picture, and obviously that was expensive solution. Salesforce from the very beginning, they catch this idea and they come up with the computing, and they'll say we have everything on the cloud. So they come up with that, and that's why there were a lot of CRMs before that. Salesforce is not the first one to come up. Probably last 30, 40 years we have a lot of CRMs, but they come up with the cloud idea for the very first time, and that's how they become so popular. And obviously they have keeping their lead. Now most of the softwares nowadays, or CRM nowadays, they are cloud based as well. But the reason why they were more popular back in the time, and now they become still keeping their lead with a lot of new innovations that they are continuously doing, is because they started off with a cloud idea, and that's how they become more popular. Same thing in a cloud, as you explained, as Syed explained, and also Zafar explained, that you don't really need to install any software on your machine. You can just log in. They will check your credentials, and you are in the software. You are using your iPhone, you are using your Android, you are using your Apple Pad, or you can use your laptop, office machine, from anywhere and everywhere. You can just log in and start using that. Where are you saving the data? On their servers. If you need something, if you need to download something on your machine, you can always download to your machine and do whatever you want, but that data is always being saved on their servers, and anybody else can also. So for example, I work on something, I save it, next time Syed or Zafar goes in there, he also have access to the same data, so I don't need to upload or anything like that. Everything is being saved on the servers automatically. So once you get a rough idea about the cloud computing, I just list down the three main types of the cloud computing which are happening these days, right? So I have SaaS, which is normally pronounced as SaaS, PaaS, and us. So anybody have idea what are the difference between SaaS, PaaS, SaaS? Before I explain, Zafar, Raza.
Yeah, I believe it's SaaS is software as a service, and then PaaS is platform as a service.
Sure. And IaaS is a interface. And what is the can you explain maybe one difference between SaaS and PaaS? What is the difference? If you know, if you don't, then so that's okay. But
Well,
knowledge.
software is as a service is like, you pay for the services that you use
Okay.
in that software. Actually, I'm a little bit confused on the differences between SaaS and PaaS.
Okay, that's fine. Anybody else like Raza? Do you know the difference between SaaS, PaaS, SaaS? Any idea?
SaaS, but I don't know. Sorry, man.
Okay. How about
No
you?
idea.
Mo? Okay, perfect. So that's a good topic. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is before explaining what is SaaS, PaaS, and S, I happen to know a very interesting analogy, example, which might explain it, and you hopefully you will remember it for the rest of your for the rest of your life. Basically, it's very interesting. So, so basically, let's say you want to have you want to eat a biryani. Okay, so you go in a restaurant and you say, okay, I need a chicken biryani, right? They'll say, okay, give me 10 bucks, 15 bucks. They pack it and you got your biryani, you go home, you eat it, right? So what happens in there? You go in there, you ask for a service, everything was ready, you just pay for it, you get it, and you go home and you eat it, right? So that's SaaS. Everything is ready. What in terms of our technology, what is that is you log into a server, you log into a website, you do whatever you want to do it, right? It could be your mailing service, right? It could be your Gmail, it could be your Salesforce. You go in there, you do your Salesforce work. Any application you can think of, any application you think, you need a map direction, right? So what you do in there, you just log into Google Maps, you put your starting ending direction, you click the button, you got the direction. You don't really start looking for yourself or you do anything else. All you do is you log into the Google Maps, you put start, and you got it. You want to search something, you log into Amazon, you say, okay, I need, laptop comes up, you buy it, you get out of it. That's it. So it's basically everything is ready for you. It's a software or it's a product which is ready. You log in, you do your work, you get out of it. So same thing, go back to biryani part. You go in there, you order biryani, you eat it, that's it, you are done. Right now, let's go to the next platform. Now let's say you get the biryani but you don't like it. You're like, no, it's too spicy or it's too less spicy, I don't like it. I don't like they add onion in there. I don't like why did they add potato in there. I don't like that biryani. I like to make my own biryani. Okay, so the second option is you go into the shop. Maybe this is a different kind of hotel where they let you get into the kitchen. Everything else is ready. So you have your chicken ready, you have everything is cut and ready, you have your stove running, you have your pots running, everything is ready what you need. All you need to do is you will say, okay, I'm going to put the ingredients as per my wish. I'm going to put, let's say, 3 legs, I'm going to put this, and then I'm going to mix it up and I make my own biryani, right? Now what could be the two of the possibilities? One is maybe you can make even better biryani than the ready made, or if somebody like me is doing biryani, maybe it can make really horrible like dalia kind of a biryani, right, that you don't really want to eat. So there's a chance that you can make it or you can break it, you can make even better, you can make so worse that it won't work, but you are doing it on your way. So what they are doing is the company is providing you a platform. They have all the tools available. You don't need to basically go and buy the tools and this and that, but all you do is basically you get all the ingredients, but you do your own effort. You design it your way. In terms of software, what it means is you design it on your own way. Let's say you say, okay, I want to see my name first, I want to see the company name first, I want to do this, I want to have 10 options, I want to take this input, that output, I want to do my money in Canadian dollars, I want to do in something. So whatever you want to do, you do it, but you're still using all the ready-made items in there and you are doing it. So you don't have the final product, you are making the product, but you are doing one extra step. So that's called PaaS, where you provided a platform and you do that. And then, for example, for some of those is Apex language. We just talked about it. Force.com. This is also like an interface for the Salesforce. I'll talk about it. What is the difference between interface and background? But just imagine Google Apps. So if somebody, I don't know if in this audience, if somebody is happen to know how to make an app, that is also the same thing. If you have a Google app platform, you can make your own app. You don't like how the Google is showing the direction, you say, okay, I need to see it with pink color, right? I want to see it in 3D or 5D or whatever. So Google say, okay, you want to do it? Okay, these are the tools. They are available. The maps are here. The directions are here. This is the language we use, whatnot. You mix it up and create it however you want it. And you want it, you make it, and then you basically put it into the app market, and people will buy it. If it is really good product, people will buy it. If it sucks, nobody will gonna buy it. You might end up using it yourself, right? So that is your platform. It gives you platform and you use it. Now, the third part is IaaS, which means infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. So, what could be the infrastructure? Now, you go back to the biryani idea one more time, and this time, all you have is a money in your hand, is an empty room. You have, let's say, $10,000, and what you need to do, first of all, you need to buy the ingredients. You need to buy chicken, all the vegetables, or the masala. You need to buy the cutting board. You need to buy stove, pots, whatever you can think of required in the biryani. First of all, you need to buy the equipment. Second, you put the equipment together and put it. So basically, you go from the third stage as to pass, and basically then you create the server. Now, the best example for IaaS is Amazon server. So what they do is, excuse me, you can basically go to Amazon server and you want to buy all the requirements that you need. What it means by requirement is, let's say you need a very super fast computer. You need 5 servers. You can say, okay, I need these 5 servers. What kind of servers? Windows. You need server 2000. You need any other type of what kind of processor, what kind of speed. You choose everything. You say, okay, I need very fast processor. I need 128 RAM. I need this kind of storage. You'll say, okay, you want 1 gig, or you want 1 tera, or you want 1 giga. You choose everything. Not only that, but I mean, Amazon can allow you to choose it as you go. So from the beginning, you think about all these things. You come up, you buy something, and then you start using it. But you very soon figure out, oh, I just bought too much. I don't really need all these right now. So no problem. You can start removing them and just use what you need. And whenever you need more, you can buy more. So for example, in Amazon, let's say I have a company who makes shoes, right? And let's say, for example, I have a one server. Just imagine one server and 100 gigs of storage. I do shoe sale, and then I have, that is enough for my daily work. Now Black Friday comes, and guess what? My sales got tripled. Instead of 100 customer a day, I might have 300 customers. So to process all that online, to get all those working, if I keep that particular processing power, what will happen? My system will crash, right? So what I need to do, I need to improve my processing power. I need to increase my storage power. And how do I do it? I go back to Amazon and I purchase more firepower, and also I purchase a lot of storage, and then I should be good for the day. After the Black Friday goes, maybe next 2 days might be still busy, but after a week I might slow down, get back to my own normal pace, right? So after that phase, I can just drop all the extra space, all the extra processing power that I had, and I go back to the same one. So I start paying that again. So that's the beauty of the cloud computing on demand thing. They can even do it on hourly basis. You can just go and get the maximum for an hour where you really need it. After that, you can just drop down to the basic processing power. You can get for multiple hours. You can even bid. So what they do is, there are some timing which are really, really nobody uses it. Maybe let's say at very late at night, nobody's using it, nobody's getting into the software. So they will say, okay, whoever bid the highest for that particular hour will give it to you. So let's say all the people like big pharmaceutical companies, bid analytics company, so they continue bidding. They make a software that bid on that. They'll say, okay, instead of $1 an hour, you can get in pennies. You can get it like 50 cents. You can get 25 cents. So whoever bid among those highest, they can get it for, let's say, an hour. After that, somebody bid higher, they can get it. So it's like a continuous process. And then again, your bid is higher, you can get again for that hour. So that's how it's being utilized. So these are the different ways of cloud computing. So one is SaaS. So just to let you know, SaaS is obviously the most popular clouding service out there. Probably more than 50-60% is the market which is captured by SaaS, because it is for the end customers. End customers can log in, do whatever they want. Everything is ready. just logging into that and use it and do whatever they want to do. They pay charges to their users or providers. Then the PaaS platform is obviously for developers, right? Mostly developers or somebody who wants to do development in either apps or different tools or whatnot. So they get into PaaS platform, they develop something, and then basically they need that kind of, and somebody who is in the infrastructure, who is building something up, or they are doing the PaaS part, but basically they want to go beyond that. They want to control all of their equipment, all of their technology. They want to control everything, how the process is happening. Then you go to the infrastructure part, where you actually build the infrastructure. Then you do your tool development, and then at the end you provide a service to a customer. So does that explain the difference between these three? Zafar, is it something that you get a better idea now?
Yeah, that was perfect explanation. So SaaS and PaaS could apply for Salesforce, right? SaaS would be like the applications that comes with Salesforce in the box,
Yes.
and PaaS would be the applications or apps that you develop in Salesforce
Absolutely.
according to the business needs, right?
Absolutely. You're perfectly on the spot. The only difference is, instead of doing, actually you can do apps too. The way it goes is, just to give, so that's like a next topic, but I can just at this point I can explain a little bit about it. So what happened is, so we have Apple, and then we have um, um, Android, right? So you know that when you create an app, if you're in app market, you create either for Apple, or you create um, for Android, or you can create for both, right? So you can create apps for different platforms, right? So, but what app typically do is, basically it is something that can help you, right? It's not a system, it's not a phone, it's just going to help you. So for example, we can talk about some apps. So, for example, let's say you have a Google Maps. This comes as an app. What it does, there's a app somebody created, obviously Google. They put it into the market. You go there, either it's a free or it's a dollar or whatever the cost is. You buy that, you install it, and then how do you really use it? You are still utilizing your phone power, your processing power, but that will run on top of your system. And so from where it is taking your location, does Google Map, the app itself, has a GPS built in there? No. Where does it take the GPS information? From the phone, because phone has a built-in GPS, right? The app doesn't have it, but app get that information from the phone. Okay. Now, how does the phone know which? So, if you probably everybody might have used the GPS, Google Map. So, how does the phone know you are in Eastern time zone or a Western time zone, right? Because it will give you the exact time. Oh, you will reach in 2 hours, 30 minutes, 3:05 p.m. You will reach this destination. So, how does the app know? Does the app have that information, that what time you're gonna use? No, it is utilizing the phone information, but it knows how to tap that information and bring it out into the tool, right? So that's just an add-on tool. So this is as good as you have a car, you have a leather seats, and you put a cover on top of the seat. So does that cover? So that cover will protect your seat, but does that cover provide you cushion? No, the seat is providing you cushion. Does that cover actually is a seat? No, it's not a seat. It's just a protection. It's just a cover. So all the apps are basically, they are kind of a cover. They do some their own job, but they are dependent on the source they are running. So coming back to Salesforce, Salesforce also is a platform. There are thousands of apps available for Salesforce, which is called Salesforce App Market. So we'll talk about it obviously once we go into the detail. So for different functionalities, obviously you can do it in Salesforce, but as you can do in a phone, but why you need app, it makes your job easy. So if you do something on phone, it might take an hour, but you install an app, it might do in 5 minutes, right? Same thing, Salesforce. A lot of people get into the Salesforce app development. They develop an app, they sell it either monthly basis or one-time fee, and you can use it on top of it. And what it does is, basically, instead of you developing something, you spend some time, you spend months or whatever energy and time, you can just buy something from the app store and install it on top of your Facebook, and you're good to go, right? For example, let's say you buy a Salesforce. yesterday, and you run a call center. Okay. Now, one way to, and obviously, Salesforce is a particular way of showing things, right? First of all, you don't like that, right? Because the people who are taking calls, they are not techie people, right? They are very generic people. They are not technical at all. They just need very nice and very easy, intuitive interface. So they can click a button, they can enter phone number. They can click a button, they can basically put what we talked about. They click something and say, okay, this is done, close, that's it, go to the next call. Very simple, right? And you have a particular way of doing it, because you can have a call center for HP, you can call center for Honda, you can have a call center for banking. Every field has a different requirements. Somebody asks about your social security, somebody asks about your car model, somebody asks about A, B, C, whatever. So one way, so let's say you open a call center, you wanna help IT customers for HP, right? So you need to have a very particular. So one way to do that is hire a developer who will make all the changes and give you a view that you are looking for, right? That's one way. The second way of that, if somebody already created an app for IT or for a call center, you check some of those, you see if that is something that you really like it, you can just buy it. And again, they are usually not free. You can buy it on a monthly basis or a one-time fee, and you basically just install it on top of it, and you are good to go. If everything looks good, you are good to go. You can next day you can say, okay, all the support guys start using Salesforce. That's it. Otherwise, you might spend a little bit time, a week or 2 week or a month, whatnot, to make an update. So it's up to the utility. How do you want to use it? So that's a little idea about when we were at the past, that it's a platform. So again, Salesforce also provide a platform. Their language is called Apex. Their interface is called Force.com. So any software has two ways. One is background, where you are basically doing the programming, and one is how does it appear to you on your screen, right? So right now, when you see your Google Maps, the way it comes up, the map comes up, the button comes up, the arrow comes up, the size of the arrow, what you input and all that, that's called interface, right? The front end of how you are seeing any application is called interface. So you need to develop interface, obviously, right? How do you want to see it? That's called force.com. So that's another platform where you can just do the changes on force.com. Anything that you are programming, because once you click on a thing, what it gonna do basically? How does it gonna go to the database, get something and show you? For example, if you click on a map, it goes into the database and check what that location name is or the shop name is, and it comes and show you right away that data. So you have two aspects of it for everything. Like we have two aspects, we have a physical body and we have roof. So together we make a human, right? Same thing with the software. So you have an interface, physical body, which is interface, like you have a something sitting. But if you don't have a database, if you don't have a software behind it, it is going to be as good as a dead body, right? There's nothing in there. That's it. So you need to have software that will bring it out. So that's the programming done in Apex language, and the interface is called Force.com. So again, we go into more detail, but hopefully you get an idea what we are talking about. Let's move to the next slide quickly, and hopefully next 15-20 minutes we should be done. So now combine these two things together, CRM and cloud computing, what we so far talked about, becomes Salesforce. That becomes your Salesforce. So now we talk about what is Salesforce. What Salesforce does, it collects all the information about your customers, your sales, your support, your marketing, put that in one location. Now, if a support person wants to see what sales is happening with this account, he can pull that. If the salesperson want to see what kind of issue tickets are open with this account before I make a call, he can get that information. If a manager want to see, okay, how many people have called today from which companies, he can look at. He don't need to make any call to anybody. He don't need to ask to send me a report. He don't need to do any. All he needs to do, he get into the Salesforce, he get the data. Your CEO comes up, he says, okay, we are having a lot of financial losses. Let me see what's going on, right? So he can get into Salesforce, log in and see how many sales are happening, how many sales are already happened this week, this month, today, how many sales did not happen. We reached them, but they closed in no sales. Why? So that they can see it, right? So you can develop a system. Now Salesforce comes up, it combines CRM, cloud computing. Now your boss, CEO, is traveling to Barcelona for a CTIA. He's attending a conference call. and then boom, there are some. He got an email. Oh, there is a critical client who wants to talk to the CEO, and only then he will buy it. He see the email, he'll say, okay, no worries. He stepped out, make a quick call, and do it. That's how you do it. Otherwise, somebody has to reach him, and then he will say, okay, what's going on? Why did you call me? And he will explain, okay, this is this. Now he asked the Salesforce admin to set up a email alert for me whenever there is, for example, a sale happening more than $1 million. Oh, I really care about that sale. If anything happens, any question that ask, I need to know. So what will happen? Admin will set up some rules, and those emails or alerts will go to the CTO, CEO, whoever is has requested that information, and you can get that information from on your phone, on your iPad, on your laptop, wherever you can log in from Salesforce. So Salesforce can work on your iPhone, work on your Android phone, it can work on your iPad, it can work on your personal laptop, office laptop, no restrictions. So that's where the combination of CRM, and that's what I explained in the next slide. So requirement, all you need is a web browser, internet connection. Right now, you are sitting here taking a call. Let's say Mo has also an account, right? He can open his Salesforce in his phone and see if there is any ticket, any urgent request, anything wrong going on, any sales calls comes up. He has some time to see whatever he wants to do. He can look it in the phone. All you need is an internet connection, and the remote access, obviously you already talked about, it's everything on a cloud, so you can work from home, you can work on from any other location. So this will bring up the perspective that a lot of people ask about it. Can this job be remote? Of course, 100%. All it depends if your employees let you do it or not. That's a separate debate, right? But let's say your customer or your company is very flexible. They are okay, no worries. If you are in Virginia, if you're in Texas, we operate in Canada, but you are hired. Oh, you can work from there. That's fine. It's up to the company. But can you do that? Can you take care of everything? Of course, 100%. You can take all the tickets. You can close it. Everything is available as if you're sitting in the office. So no requirement of traveling or anything like that. Now we are almost kind of wrapping up. Hopefully next 10 minutes. So a very brief idea about what Salesforce really contains, right? What it has, right? So what kind of different clouds they have. So what they did is basically instead of saying just a Salesforce, they distributed based on demand because everybody has a different demand. Somebody only wants to use Salesforce for sales. Somebody wants to use for marketing. Somebody wants to use for community. Somebody wants to use for service. Somebody wants to use all of them, right? Based on whatever and however you want to do it, you can pay and get that. But if they provide just one whole soul, maybe if somebody only want to use for service, he has to pay a lot of money for all these things which he's not going to use. So that's why they come up with different clouds saying, okay, if you only want to use service, you can do that as well. So you don't have access to sales or marketing or community or whatnot. So whatever you need, you can, and you can also keep adding, right? Later on, you can keep add if you really need it and all that. So in a very high level, you have a sales cloud which deals with sales. You have a service cloud which deals with the maintenance. You have a marketing cloud which deals with the marketing. How do you market your products? You have a community cloud. What is community cloud? So community cloud is as good as your Facebook, right? It's also almost like that, where you ask the questions and it's like a broad community, right? From different companies, different things, people are connected. You can have your local community, like your own company community as one. You can have a broader community. So you can have non-profit community, you can have IT community, even you can make your own communities. So what they do is basically they provide a platform so that similar working nature people can get together on a community cloud and they can discuss. So for example, me, Sana, and Mo belongs to the same IT industry, and I want to do something which I am trying for last 2 days and I'm not able to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm saying, hey guys, I am trying to implement this rule, but for some reason it's not working. Can anybody help me out? And Mo sees that and he says, hey, yeah, I know. He can do some changes and he will say, hey, Khurram, now try that and see if it works. Or Sana comes in and okay, try this instead. So people can help people. And many times in community there are also Salesforce people also in there. They can also help it out. You can always call the Salesforce people if you have a account. They can help you out. Give me a second. They can help you out. Then we have analytics cloud. What is analytics? I just explained very briefly initially that analytics is you have a data, you have a huge data, you want to get uh, related information out of it, right? So let's say you have a calls for 1 year, millions of minutes, right? Millions of literally minutes of the data. You want to get the calls where it says anything about your product, right? So I have a product called ABC shoes, right? I want to see how many times that comes up, right? So how would you analytics? You have put everything into convert. First of all, if it is in a voice form, you can very well convert into database form. It will convert everything into words, and it will convert into, and there I can give you example. I don't know if all of you have used or not, but Google phone app, if anybody has used that, they convert, and for that matter nowadays, like even your phone, car, a lot of them are converting your voice messages into data. Right? You got a call, you said, okay, leave me a message. They leave you a voice message, but on your phone it comes as a written text, right? So they convert. So that engine is already available long time back. Now they actually implemented into a lot of different usability. So it's not a new concept, is there. So once they convert into words, all you need to do is just dump those words into database. You have those thousands or hundreds of calls into database. And then you say, okay, I comes in there and say, okay, I want to see if my ABC shoes for 1 year, how many thousands of times it comes up. So I put a query, right? And then again, you can have multiple ways to do that. And it comes up, okay, 100 times comes up. I said, okay, let's see how many times my competitor shoes comes up. So that's like a Z shoes. So they put like a Z shoes and that comes up like 1,000 times. I was like, oh man. So they are doing really good, right? So this is just an example, and for that matter, you can do anything, right? How many times the customer says, "Oh, I'm very happy." Let's see how many times it says happy. How many times it say, I'm not really, I'm very unhappy, or whatever that is, right? How you want to see how many customers are calling, how many customers are not calling, how many customers calling on weekend, how many customers are calling on Monday, Tuesday, whatever. You can think about whatever, and you can do it in analytics. That's what analytics is all about. You can slice and dice the data, keep slicing, keep dicing, keep managing your data as you want. So that's become your analytics. Apps Cloud, we just talked about it. Make your app or use the app, pay the app, use the app, make a app, whatever you want to do it, you can use it. Same as the concept in our phone, same type of apps. IoT Cloud, again, that's a very new technology, Internet of Things. What they're doing is now they're connecting everything together. You have a home, you have a heater, you have a Wi-Fi, you have like a lights, you have a car that works automatically, you have a Tesla car that works automatically, you have a phone, you have a garage door, and just add all the devices. And all those devices, how they're going to be controlled, how they're going to talk about each other, right? So the one way is you go to your garage door very close to it, you push a button, right? And then the garage door open. Now, how about it if you just go to close to your door and it will automatically open it? One way to have that is you need to have a sensor, right? That's a sensor will tell it. The other way is these devices start talking to each other. How? Like the door somehow getting information that you are getting close from 100 miles, and now you are like a point 0.5 inch away, and then the door will automatically open. So that's a different concept than just the basic all the sensors, and so this is beyond sensors. You still need all the sensors, but all the devices need to be very intelligent and they need to talk to each other. For example, you are going and you are very close to the red light. How would Tesla know I need to stop? They have sensors, they sense there is a red light, but they need to talk to that. So what is the best way to do that? If somehow he already know from 2 blocks away that by the time I reach there, it's going to be red because I already calculated it, right? I'm going on 35 miles per hour. I'm going to take like 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, that signal is telling the car that by the time you reach, it will be red. So make sure your speed is like that. So the car will go automatically and stops it, not just because of sensor. Sensor will be there, but because of the the red light is actually talking to the car. That's what IoT is. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. So again, if we know all these technologies, if we go on top of the technologies sooner than the later, obviously we can take benefits to it. We can use it in our jobs, getting good jobs, do whatever you want to do it. But obviously, IoT is going to be the biggest thing. Or everybody's talking about 5G in terms of telecom, IoT devices. Every device going to start talking to each other. It's going to be crazy, but that's what it is. and then we go back to the sales cloud. These are some of the sales cloud. Now we get back to from where we started. So how are we going to achieve all that? How are we going to learn Salesforce? How are we going to talk about all these applications? How are you going to learn how to just log in? Right now, most of you don't even know how to log into Salesforce, what it does, what are the different rules, how to create it, if I want to add somebody, what is profile, blah, 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 all these things. So the contents that I come up with, first of all, the procedure that I'm going to follow is create work with the case study. Like, for example, I give you an example of how to make biryani. Same thing. We come up with the example. We'll say you run a company ABC. You have these different departments. You have different fields. That's what you work with. And how do you gonna implement the whole thing in sales? So almost from the very beginning, from a first or second language, we come up. Once you have your login and everything working from the basic interaction, we will right jump into, assuming we have a company, we do particular work, these are our fields, and understand the fields and start implementing them into Salesforce. So everything will be based on the case study, implementation in the case study, implementation in the Salesforce, so you know how to do it. And very quickly you will start learning and you can start exploring things on yourself once we go into the detail. So that's my idea of it, that I don't want to basically spoon feed to the people, because folks are really intelligent. What happens is, usually if you go to the studies, they come up with the slides, they're gonna, okay, click this, click that, go move forward, this and that. My way of teaching is, I want a little bit more liberty to the users, basically push them to think about it, right? Why they are doing this? Why not? I mean, can you do some other way? Why are you doing this? If you want to do this, how are you going to do it in some other software on a normal basis? So I'm going to push people to think about it so that it become more interactive. It's not going to be, you're going to sleeping in my class. Okay, okay, this is not okay. Now you just woke up and like, so I'm going to make sure I push you to a limit where you think about it, you start using it. We're going to do quizzes. We're going to do work exercises, obviously, after each class. So you have the whole week to practice. You come up whenever you get a chance. I will provide a lot of reference materials, and then we come to the good part, the certification preparation. So initially, probably the half or maybe like 70%. Obviously, we need to first of all understand, right? Sometimes we are very eager to jump into, okay, can I pass just by reading all these things like that. The problem with that is, maybe you can do that, but then once you pass it, then you probably have to start the whole thing again. Okay, now I already passed it, but I don't know much about it. When an interviewer call and say, okay, can you know what is the difference between the lookup and master detail relationship? It's like, oh, I kind of remember the options out of four, but I don't know what it does, right? So you need to go back. So what my plan is to make sure that you learn something on the way. We will, on probably on almost every class, I will go through at least 5 or 10 test questions. So you get an idea from the day one that what are you up to, what kind of questions are coming in. So whenever you are reading, you are doing something, you always think about it. What are the 4 options? What are the 3 options possible? Why did they choose that? So that will enable you to start thinking about how to pass certification at the same time. And obviously, once you hopefully you pass the certification, we can always come back and we can help you with the interviews, how to do the interview, and how to brush up your resume. How to basically, and what I'm trying to do is, going forward, is basically I'm trying to reaching out a lot of organizations who are using Salesforce, so we can probably able to get some actual projects that you can, if you can able to participate in that, you can able to put that in your resume as well as a practical work, instead of just putting all the things that you haven't done. We can try and do that as well, and see if we can able to get some local non-profit organizations, or some companies that can that can utilize our our talent. um, the next slide is just to give you a little bit of the ideas what you are talking about. So there's a Salesforce, sharing rules, building sites, schema builder, portals, data loader, data export. So there are like a lot of things that we're gonna learn throughout the thing. Now the pretty much the last slide I'm on. So just bear with me, maybe another 5 more minutes. So again, this is one of the critical slides. So what are the goals? What are our training goals? So I just explain our training goals are 2 main goals. One is, obviously you need to pass the certification. That's the first step. And I don't say maybe yes, maybe no. No, I say you need to pass it. That's it. There is no exception, no if, buts, whatever. You need to work hard. You need to do it. If you fail first time, doesn't matter. Appear second time, fail, appear third time, but you need to pass it, right? Because that's the first step. Show the determination, you can pass it. If a lot of people, thousands of people pass it, why can't you pass it, right? So that's going to be a challenge for me as well if you don't pass it, because I need to make sure you guys pass it. That's the first step. So so the first step is our goal is to pass the certification. Second step is obviously you need to have a good grip on Salesforce. Obviously, no training can guide you 110% that you can work on. You always go into the work and you learn a lot of new things, but we want to enable you to think critically and come up with the ways so that you can explore that option, right? So maybe I teach you about service industry, but you end up going in a financial industry, so you might have some different things. But my task of doing the training is you know how to resolve this solution. If you have a problem, what are the different ways I can get help? So for example, you can call Salesforce, right? Obviously you are working, you are as an admin, you can always, you have a ID of your company, of your license. If you don't get anything, you try something, you don't get an idea, you don't have time, you can always pick up the phone and call Salesforce. You tell them that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add a person, and for some reason I add like 100 people, but this person is not adding. I don't know what's wrong with that, right? You open a ticket in a couple of hours, they call you back, they work, they log into your account, they work with you and solve your problem and tell you how do they do that. Next time you don't need to worry about that problem at all. Now you know. You want to make some rule, for example, rule meaning any email comes up from a support person and he do not respond in next 3 hours, come to the manager. So as an admin, you need to implement that rule that any email that comes up doesn't respond it in 3 hours needs to escalate it to the manager. If manager doesn't respond in a day, go to the director, something like that. So how I can make it? Again, some of these things are very generic. We'll do a lot of examples so you get an idea. One thing so cool about these days is the community. You cannot even imagine how people will help you. You post a question on a community, not to the Salesforce, just your Salesforce community, and go to today and go and check. People will actually solve your problem. It could be like 2 page long and give it to you. People are so good in technology these days. I don't know about other people, but I have personal experience. I have a lot of colleagues who have experience. They have a job, like one of my very close friend, we work together. He had an issue in Salesforce and he was working for a week to resolve this. He tried 10 different ways. He called Salesforce. They were able to help, but exactly not the way he wanted, right? And he was keep trying to see if it can be done better way. And he posted the question on Salesforce. One nice person get back to him with a very nice piece of code. He put that and exactly get what he was looking for. So you have multiple ways to get the help from Salesforce itself. You can get community help. A lot of people are eager to help you. So all these things will be included in the training. How to get that help? What is the best way? How to question? How to get the good answers? Right? How to ask a question? What would this training cover? Probably I'll already explain, but we'll go from the admin part. There are multiple sections like security, profiles, how to make rules, what are different types of things. So all those things will be covered in the in the training. Will as I said in the previous slide, that there's a way that we'll take an example, we'll follow through it, and we'll work on that. Can we work on case studies? Of course, we'll definitely start with the case studies, work on that. How about the practice camp? So as I said, probably from the day one or day two, we will start pulling 5 or 10 or 15 based upon the time that we have. Start working on the practice exam right from there, from initially just to explain you, and then later on we'll try to have you work. What is the duration? So what I come up with the final plan is a 8 weeks, 2 months training, and the timing is every Sunday 9 to 12. And again, you can always join online or on-site. Both options are available as we done today. So it's just going to be one day, 9 to 12, 5 hours. We'll take like a half an hour break between that. This will give you enough time, because I know most of you guys are actually working guys. Initially, I was planning to do both Saturday, Sunday, but that will not give you enough time to practice. And then time-wise, I increase 2 weeks extra, but basically come up with the 8 weeks plan instead of 5 weeks plan, in order to accommodate, and you have enough time that you can able to learn everything with your pace. You can able to practice and everything. How soon I can give the certification exam, which means after the completion, as soon as you are ready. So once you are completed, I would suggest within 2 weeks, just revise everything, go through the questions, revise the questions, and probably within a week or 2 weeks, you should be able to give the exam. And as soon you give is good because everything is fresh in your mind. If you take month or 2 or 3, you might need to revise the whole thing. You might forget about a lot of concepts. So it's good to give the certificate as soon as possible. Obviously, the next question will be, what is the registration and exam and number of attempts. In terms of number of attempts, is what I see myself. Sometimes it says unlimited, but I see when I register, it says like 9 or 10 attempts. But it's more than enough attempts. We are not even, thinking about 10 attempts. Maybe, hopefully one, maybe not one, maximum two. But there are a lot of attempts. I see myself like 9 or 10 attempts available that you can do it. Very minimal charges for the exam, 200 for the first time, 100 for every time. So very cost effective. It's not a lot of money that you need to worry about. Even if you're not ready 100%, go ahead and give the exam. A lot of my colleagues,
Khurram,
yes.
uh, Khurram, the exam is some kind of the Salesforce center, or where are we going to give the exam?
Yes. So the exam will happen at there are multiple testing centers. It's a 90-minute test, like an hour and a half, 60 60 multiple select questions, right? And you can give it to, there are multiple examination center everywhere across the board. So you can schedule to any of those, whichever is closest to your place. You go in there, they will launch the test session for you. So probably, I don't know if anybody has given the exam for any certification exam like CCNA or CCNP or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
They
you,
usually do the state university, state university campus. So I gave
no,
that
no,
the
no,
CCN exam.
not state university campus. They are private offices. They are private providers. It could be the university as well, but you don't even need to go there. Like in my home, if I search my zip code, I can get at least 10, 15 options within like 3 or 4, 5 miles. So there are a lot of companies who are, because they not only do this, but any certification like CCNA, SAT, for MBA, for all of these different certifications, your examinations, whatever required, they have a particular centers. You can just register yourself on a website. They will give you different options, different timing. You can select one of those, whichever is closest to you. Just go there, computer is ready, they will sign in for you. You have hour and a half, 60 questions, multiple select. You can do it, pass it right away. You know if you pass or fail. That's it. And probably you can even schedule the very next day in case if you don't pass. So you don't have to wait for a long time to do it again. Probably not the same day, but very next day you can go back and appear in the exam again. Any other questions, Zafar? Anybody else regarding the training, the
Uh,
examination?
I actually somebody was telling me there's you can take this exam remotely, like from your home. They monitor you via webcam. Is that correct?
Usually, what I know of is not like you can do it or your home. You probably have to some sort of either supervision or you probably have to schedule it something, which is a different process. I haven't done it myself, but I don't believe you can do it from home even with the webcam, because the reason for that is you can still share your screen to somebody, or somebody is looking from the behind which is not visible to the webcam. So I doubt, I mean, I'm not sure 100%. I can check on that, but I doubt if they can allow you that they can have somebody come into your office. Let's say you have like 5 people are giving the exam, and they can do the supervision, and then they can allow you to do that. But I'm not sure if they can allow you just by the supervision of the webcam that you can give the exam.
All right, thanks.
Any other question? All right. So that's pretty much, we are at the end of the training. I'll open floor just for any question, whatever we have discussed so far, from any topic or training that we have covered today. Zafar, Sayed.
Do you also provide service for job placement?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is basically we're gonna work with you on your resume. We're gonna basically I have some people who basically promote and work with multiple companies. So I'm gonna help you with that also for the job placement part as well. So it's part of the training also. Once you pass the exam, once you do that, we'll see where we can do that. But we can only recommend. We don't have our in-house job. So in some companies they do have like in-house jobs that they can place you right away, but we don't have in-house job, but we help you to get the job in the open market.
Okay. And one more thing, and if suppose somebody wants to enter in this arena as a business analyst, focusing in the Salesforce area, so do they still need to do the certification, or is it
So when you say as a business analyst, right? So business analyst is kind of a broad term, right? It can have multiple roles. Salesforce is more very specific, right? When you talk about Salesforce, so a business analyst can be if they have Salesforce information. So what they can do is basically they can work and analyze the whole system, and they can also do some work on the Salesforce at the same time, right? Now, if you don't have a Salesforce information, but you are a business analyst, that's probably a hard sell, right? Because they still need somebody who can do some sort of administration, who understands Salesforce, who work on Salesforce. If you want to be a business analyst in relation to the Salesforce as a service. Now there are multiple business analysts which does not require Salesforce at all. You can be a business analyst in so many different domains that doesn't has to do anything with the Salesforce. So that's that can be overlapping, and that can be entirely different entities. You can work as a Salesforce admin standalone. There's no business analysis involved at all. And in some cases, if it's a small company or a company where they require your expertise to come up with a process, they want you to chip in how we change our process more to use Salesforce better. So you can then become a Salesforce analyst because you are a business analyst, because you are promoting them how you improve your business with the help of Salesforce. So you are giving them ideas also, not only solving the tickets, because one job of admin is obviously any all the tickets that comes up to you, right? So somebody says, oh, this person has left the company, so you need to make sure you you freeze his account, you get the data transferred to either the new person or somebody else. Somebody send you, okay, I need some automated reports, can you create those? You need to do a backup. So there's a lot of particular job that a Salesforce admin do on a daily basis. And then on top of it, he can also help the business to come up with a plan that, okay, right now the way you are doing the sales or something, I would like to add this process in between so that you have more visibility or less visibility, or it will become more intuitive. You can able to check on that, or you can able to see how long would it take. So you can also recommend into the business processes, and then obviously you are the person who can either implement that, or if you are on a senior person in Salesforce with the Salesforce knowledge, maybe you can just create the processes, and somebody as a Salesforce admin can implement those. So there are different ways how you can utilize it. It's all about your expertise, your level of the job. So let's say you enter in a company as a Salesforce analyst on a director level. Maybe they don't really need you to use all the admin jobs day to day, but you are more as a business analyst to promote, sync your business, how to use it, this and that. So your responsibilities might be different compared to a Salesforce admin who is strictly added just to do basically day-to-day jobs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All
Thanks,
right.
Khurram. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. So what I'm going to do is I will, for the guys who have logged in, I probably have your email addresses. So I will send out the registration form shortly after the meeting, and then I'll follow up with that. And hope you guys have benefited from this, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the training session next week. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, guys.